Good evening, everybody. Boxing Asylum listeners, Steve Wellings here with a crack panel. Hopefully you're all okay there out in the chat. Nobody can go out tonight. So why not just sit at home, get pissed and listen to us talk shite for an hour or so. We're just testing out a glorious return to YouTube, having a little push and pull about on the cobble, see what works, see what doesn't work. Yes, so we've got a bad crowd in tonight then, consisting of Andy Patterson, Hater Dave Loback, Gabe Lewis and Ozzy Smith. Keeping with the bar theme then, Ozzy. What's your drink of choice tonight? What do you like having a tipple with you in Weatherspoons? You can smell the piss on the carpets. A couple of slags coming up to you at the bar. What's your drink of choice, Ozzy?
Oh, Heineken, mate. As always. Pint of Heineken always works well. I'm not on that tonight, though. I've discovered a cheap lager coming from Aldi called Saint Etienne. 4 cans, $2.79, and it's 4.8%. So I'm a big fan of that, and it's just ticking me over nicely while the lockdown's in play. Picked up a crate of Heineken. I think it was 12 bottles for £7. So I'll be tucking into that over the weekend as well. So I'd certainly say Heineken is my preferred drink of choice when I'm out and about. Closely followed by probably Stella as well. So two strong lagers, which I'm a big fan of. But I urge all the listeners just to give Saint Etienne a go. If you fancy just a night, 4 cans, $2.79, I ensure you won't go wrong.
There you go, guys. Russell Sellers, Wine Mark, or whatever it is, Lidl, Aldi, go and get a drop of whatever Ozzy is recommending there. No fights, though, please. Lee the Alcoholic Frotch says, great topic to start with. Andy, he's enjoying himself. Matthew Russell's there, says, vibrant chat of 10,000. 10,000. A piss on those numbers. There's at least 20,000 in the chat already. Absolutely buzzing, Andy. Message for the fans. What are you drinking tonight?
A couple of cans of Tennent's, and I've treated myself to a nice wee bottle of single malt, Old Pulteney, 12-year-old, born in the Port of Wick, up in Caithness, up in the north east of Scotland, and matured over a very fine American oak, robust yet very smooth, with a delicate hint of the sea air, and it quaffs like a motherfucker. Beautiful stuff.
Quaffs like a motherfucker. American oak. Talking of American oak, our very own Texas hardman, Gabe Lewis, is here on the rocking chair, getting bladdered as we speak. The Texas rattlesnake himself. How are you, Gabe? What are you drinking?
A beer brewed in Texas. It's a home state thing. There's a beer called Shinerbach. They actually do a whole bunch of different seasonal flavors and things of that nature, but you can't go wrong with the original. If you're a fan of, for what the States considers darker beer, of course, you know, most people here aren't really fans of that real bread in a can kind of shit. But this is good. This is good stuff. It'll do you just fine. But if you like anything that's a little bit different, they also have one that I tried. I try everything they put out, but they have one that's called Ruby Redbird. It is made with a bit of grapefruit grown in Texas as well. So it's pretty different, but it's good stuff. So if you happen to find that anywhere, I would suggest picking that up, but I doubt it's outside of the States.
There you go, a bit of craft beer recommendation from Gabe there. Sticking with the American theme, let's make America hate again. It's Hater Dave Loback. How are you, Dave? What are you drinking?
Pint of Guinness.
Indian Guinness. What was that impression, Dave?
It's clearly my Irish accent.
Dave over there saying like
I was raised in Wexford, on the streets of Wexford.
Like, you need a bit of wind in the background, Dave.
Just taking my dog out for a stroll, like.
It sounds like a fisherman, for fuck's sake. Make the point, Steve. What are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking a cup of tea, Andy. I'm off the beer many, many years, as you know. Cider, the old rocket fuel, shall no longer course through my veins. If I were to go back to the booze, Andy, ready to smash this shit up, maybe do a bit of Billy Joe Saunders in the house, what would you recommend I get onto tonight?
Oh, without doubt, getting you on the firewater, mate. Either the Stella, which will end up making you beat up the wife and give her a mega shit in the morning, or you get on the whiskey and just Yeah, just get up in the morning with a motherfucking hangover with the fear of all fears that you sit all day rattling. You get to the point whereas you just know that a very ice cold can, that first drop of nectar, just to handle and just get you through the pain of that fucking hangover. It is tremendous. There's no other cure like it known, apart from maybe adrenaline for a junkie or something like that. You know, whatever you call that shit. But no, a cold can of lager when you're absolutely hungover, mate. That's what you go for.
Andy Steve strikes me as more of a Carlsberg special brew type of thing, isn't it?
Ooh.
Kestrel.
Oh, Kestrel.
Yeah.
You're talking 8-9% of the Aussie.
Yeah, special brew. Yeah, I can see Steve supping one of them, or like a bottle of vodka in a brown bag.
I'll tell you a story. I was in Norway, right? The wife's from Tromsø, so it's way up by like the Arctic Circle and that. And into this beer keller called Urlahalen, right? They've got this thing called Gold Mac, basically gold lager, right? But it's a mixture between a heavy and a light lager, and it takes the percentage up to like 13.5%. So you get like these Steiners. I mean, my uncle, or the wife's uncle, went in there and they had fucking 3 of these babies, by the way, in the middle of January, coming out on the streets. Fucking hell, dude, man, I was sliding all over the place like fucking Torval and Dean, up on my arse, up on my cunt, everything. Oh, what a fucking mess I was in. See, by the time I go back to the pizza house, the fucking jeans were soaking with snow and that, man. It was incredible. So you go up to the Olahan and Tromsø, you get a good fucking 13.5% lager.
What a lovely image. Thank you very much for that. Talking of lovely images, the boys are enjoying old, it's not Smido, but it's Bean in the corner, just keeping a watchful eye over us. I always feel better when Bean's around, just to make sure we're behaving ourselves. There's no naughtiness, no funny business in the chat there. I see Arlene Burley has joined us over from Mixler. Also Matthew Russell, John O'Donovan. Shout out to Danny Young, Jim McDonald, Tosh Burley, the Alcoholic Frotch. A few of the regular faces. Take Ames is in there as well. Gonna have to span our Ames up if we continue on YouTube. It's looking good so far. Looking good indeed. Right, okay then, Ozzy. Pull up a stool on the bar. One boxer sitting next to you for a couple of jars. Who would you pick? One boxer next to you on the old bar stool for an evening, have a couple of beers with him. Who would you pick? I would go for Glenn McCrory. Can you imagine getting Glenn lathered up? The stories he would tell would be absolutely epic.
Tommy's been there.
Yeah, I was going to say, does it need to be a boxer? Because I was going to say McCrory's an obvious shout. But Ricky Hatton would have to be one without a doubt. I mean, we've all seen the videos of him, you know, in Benidorm, things like that, all tanked up and things. But otherwise, I'd love to get fucking Frank Warren pissed up, because I bet he's got loads of stories. I bet he'd revel in some of the stuff he reveals. And you never know, he may well reveal who actually shot him. But I reckon Frank's a big fan of the whiskey, Rambo type of thing.
Fuck's sake.
Fact. I reckon you get half a bottle of whiskey down him, and the name would be revealed.
They are Frank, then Andy. What do you reckon? One up on Frank, couple of shots with Frank at the bar for Ozzy. Then who are you going for?
Well, there's no aftershock, man. No, for me, it need to be Roberto Duran, man, because if you read some of the stories and stuff about him, you know, for example, when he was training for the Kitling Lang fight, right? Rumour had it, or according to Larry Holmes at least, who had a pub in Pennsylvania, he was in the fucking bar 3 weeks before the fight, doused himself with fucking vodka, like fucking like 40 proof, 60 proof and stuff. There was one story as well as about Duran, right? He's apparently in bed with this woman this night. He's getting her the business, right? And she starts having a fucking, a panic attack of sort. But he thought it was because of his, like, he was like sensational in bed. And what it was because she was taking a whitey. She was stoned, eh? And he took offence to this and that because it was like a slur on his machismo. So he fucking kicked her out and that, eh? He was fucking raging about it. So I think, plus you've heard the story as well. He's been in the UK, seen that story about it was about the horse or something like that. He busted out laughing about it. I think he'd be a fucking really funny bastard to drink me. I've seen like some of his documentaries and that. He's in the clubs playing pool, drinking the beers and stuff. So I like to kind of fly to Panama one day with a bottle of whiskey at Chappie's door and say, let's quaff a few and let's watch some of your favourite fights. That's what I'd be doing, eh?
There you go, got Roberto at the bar then, Ricky Hatton, Glenn McCrory. What do you reckon, Gabe? What are bars like in Texas? I imagine like bar fights and you boys laying down the old holster on the pool table and, through the saloon. I nearly said salon door, maybe saloon door would be more appropriate. Who's going for a booze with you, Gabe?
Well, I mean, I don't know. But as soon as you asked the question, I thought of Donnie's little avatar picture here. But I'm not gonna steal his thunder. I would say
I've done it, Neil.
I've thought about it. I can't come to a decision.
Hector Camacho. Hector Camacho.
Camacho. Well, I mean, if he were still alive, I suppose that's a good choice. Are we talking about only living people?
Well, I mean, you can dig somebody up if you want to. Why not?
We're going to say they won't be up for the conversation if they're a corpse, Gabe, will they?
I tell you, I'll give you one, Gabe. Nigel Benn, if Freddie's booking that about this orgy attended at this big, massive, wealthy millionaire's mansion and stuff. True story.
It reminds me of the story Aaron told that time about
him and Ali.
Yeah, him and Ali after the Thrill in Manila. They went outside and it was like 10 o'clock in the morning or some shit. And they went and they had like a week-long orgy or something like that is what he was saying in an interview. I think Dave did a impersonation of him whenever that interview came out, but that was a good one. Yeah, Lee came up with Edwin Valero. That's a good
Yeah,
call.
I was thinking that, Gabe, Edwin.
Oh man, yeah, I imagine that was a real rager. I don't know. I'm gonna piggyback on Dave, and I'm gonna go with Ricardo Mayorga too. I mean, it couldn't get any better fun than that. I mean, that's a classic pick. And if you went and got smashed with Mayorga, there ain't no telling where the fuck you'd ended up and what the fuck you'd have done.
I was going to say, man, would you last a distance with Mayorga? I mean, I've been in some absolute despicable shapes, but I think I could last with Mayorga. If I can last Belfast, Steve, surely I can last with Mayorga.
I doubt it. I don't think anybody could. That son of a bitch is mad.
Okay, Hater Dave, what about you? Here's a scenario for you then, Dave. You've had a couple of beers with Edwin Valero. He's got a bit rowdy. He's run up a big $200, $300 bar tab, and then he says, right, fuck this, I'm off out of here. He's away. He's not going to pay a penny. Do you run out and confront him in the car park, Dave, or do you just get your checkbook out and let that motherfucker go?
Well, I have a gun, so I could stop him if need be. But I'm not really looking to kill anybody. Of course, Don King would be about the same thing. Both guys have a body count of 2, allegedly. I was thinking Bob Arum. You guys mentioned him already. He would be my drinking pal. I know he'd prefer probably the weed, but if you could get him drunk, maybe you could get him off his game, get him to admit to you some of the bullshit from. I mean, the guy's had a career that spanned decades and decades and decades. So I would have to pick the Bob father and get some of those secrets from the heyday in the 80s with Tommy Hearns to Manny Pacquiao. Like you could ask about anybody.
Good stuff, boys. Let us move on then. This is a topic of interest, Andy, which I know we were talking about off air. Richie Garner, friend of the pod, at Richie Shadow over on Twitter, was commenting earlier. He says, yesterday got me thinking. People were asking about my favourite fights. I respect all fighters, but let's be honest, some seem to be just horrible people. So what fights were the most satisfying to watch? Which left you with a smile on your face after some douche got schooled? Now, Richie's thrown in a couple, Andy, one of which I'm sure will be right up on your list. I'll get you started. Hamed versus Barrera. He also threw in Herbie Hyde against Riddick Bowe. Didn't really have anything against Hyde, to be honest, and I was a big Bowe fan, so I'll let that one slide. But his middle one, Andy, Adrian Broner against Marcus Maidana. This is interesting to you.
Oh, without doubt. As I say, that happened just roughly around about the Christmas period, I'm sure. And I remember, as I say, I was hungover. I waited up the whole night for that fight. And I remember I had to take my grandmother and the wife. What year was that again? That fight?
12, was it? Would it be 12? 14? I don't know. Can't remember.
I need to double check that, but I think so. My daughter would have been born by that point. But I think she might have been a wee nipper. But it was one of these days. I'm one of the guys when I go shopping with a woman. I fucking hate life. But that day, I went shopping blissfully happy and smiled on my face. And all I had to think about was wee AB getting sent home to think again. It was tremendous. And I watched Bernard Hopkins actually kind of break down some truths actually after that fight, by saying that fight with Maidana actually took 3 fights out of him. And if you look at his career after that, by the way, it's a fair assessment. Absolute fair assessment that Hopkins came out with, because he's never been the same fighter. Number 2... Well, I'm not going to put them in any order, but certainly that one, I'm going to go off recent memory, recent kind of era, the last few years and that. So I'm going to go Joshua against Ruiz. It was the cause of one of the best podcasts in many a week. When I remember, because we were due to go live on a Sunday, and YouTube and Hangouts took a shit on us.
That's right.
And to be honest, I think it did us a lot of good, because there was a lot of information started coming out about what happened or the aftermath. So that extra day maybe actually gave us a wee bit more kind of breather, chance to kind of take it all in, sample it, rewatch it, break it down, and deliver the podcast. And it was great. And that intro was fantastic. You know, we tried to remain kind of calm and that, but it just everything just broke down into absolute laughter. And it was again, it was nothing against Joshua as such. It was more against the people behind him and sycophants and stuff, because we'll just leave it at that. Number 3, recent history. I'm going to say there's a couple. I mean, there's Josh Taylor against O'Hara Davis. That was a great humbling. I was there live, just bamming up Eddie Hearn and his crew and stuff like that. It was fucking brilliant. My mate on security doing his business for me as well, to fucking bam them up as well. But I'm going to say George Groves humbling James DeGale to some sort, because it was a fight both didn't need to take at the time. One was Commonwealth champ, one was British champ. I think they only had like something between like 9 and 10 fights respectively, whatever it was. And again, it was a fight that didn't need to happen at that point. Very close. And to me, I like Groves' wit. I like his, like off, out of the ring. I like his wit. I like his kind of dry sense of humour and stuff. I find him quite interesting to some sort of degree. So I thought verbally going up against the Gale on ringside, taking the abuse, coming back with his own shit and that, and then winning the fight, to me was pretty sweet and gave me a smile as well. A shout out to Amir Khan against Maidana as well, because I did think he was going to get iced in that fight, and when he got chinned in the 10th and came out the other side of it, still fighting, still on his feet and stuff like that, so he's fair fucked to him, mate. But no, that'll be my 3 at the minute, just in recent memory. Would be the ones. Barrera against Hamed as well, because I wasn't a real big fan of Hamed. I'm trying to think. Eubank as well.
Barrera was the hardcore's favourite as well, wasn't he? A lot of people didn't know Hamed over here.
It was another thing as well as I liked Eubank getting somewhat humbled against Thompson. Steve Collins, because when I watched Steve Collins fight, even as a kid as I was, and I think even then I could have just it was a close fight, but to see him actually getting handled and beaten and battered and beaten up was good to see against Thompson. But in the end, he also won the respect, I think, of his haters and his hardcore, haters as well, I suppose, because he stood in there, went up 2 divisions to cruiserweight, fought a beast, and put up I think he even dropped Thompson that first fight, put up a marvellous performance. But in the end, he was just too small. Well, not too small, but way past his prime and beaten up and stuff like that. But so that'd be my top 3.
Yeah, a couple of things. I meant a lot of people weren't giving Barrera a chance. He was the hardcore's favourite. Also, Broner Maidana. I said, was it 2002 or 2004? Well, I was nearly there. It was 2012 or 2014. It was actually 2013. So I was getting closer by the second, but not quite good enough. But Andy, you're right about DeGale. It's humbling. A lot of people enjoyed that for the ringside as well. But also early on, he was booed, wasn't he? His first few fights. He fought in Belfast on his second fight. I've mentioned this before, and he was booed to the ring.
Yep, I was going to say as well, is he actually, I remember Ricky Burns, he was fighting, was it Lareja, I think it was, on the Brayhead card. It was the time of the bad winter. I came down with chicken pox actually, and DeGale ended up fighting on that card in Glasgow. And it wasn't sold out or anything like that, and he got booed then. He went away on the road, done his business, won a European title, defended it on the road, came back home, went away, won his world title and stuff. So at the end of the day, I gave him I ended up respecting him because he did it the hard way, went away on the road and stuff. But there was, I don't know if you remember, Steve, there was a moment, I forget what fight it was, but it was sitting ringside at a British show, and the cameras pan to him during like a minute segment between rounds and stuff, and the whole arena just got up and gave him a round of applause, and he's looking at it like that. He's seen his mate. They applauding me. Is that me you're talking about there? So it was like a kind of full circle moment. You know what I mean? It was good to see.
Yeah. It was good to see. One I'm going to throw in just before we bring in Ozzy, actually, is Audley Harrison. I don't mind A-Force now, but at the time, he got the BBC contract. He'd got the big million for the 10 fights. He fought absolute shit on the BBC. 2004, he went in against an undefeated Dutch guy, Richel Hersissia, for the WBF title. He then beat Julius Francis, Thomas Bonin, went over to America with his tail between his legs, didn't want to, appeared like he didn't want to fight Danny Williams. And when he returned back to British shores in 2005, got beaten by Danny Williams in a pretty poor fight, actually. He wasn't very good at all, Harrison, that night. I think it was on ITV. And people were gunning for Harrison to lose, myself included. I was actually pleased to see him lose. Like I say, I don't mind him now, but at the time, I was glad to see Danny Williams pull one off on him. And then he went after that, according to BoxRec, which I'd forgotten about, and was upturned by Dominic Gwynn as well. So A-Force was going through a bit of a rough time then. I was pleased to see that. Ozzy, we know there's one definitely on your mind straight off the bat.
Yeah, I replied to this question before, and it has to be Scott Fitzgerald beating Anthony Fowler. I think that final round,
Twitter United that night.
Yeah, when Fowler got dropped, I think Scott Fitzgerald united boxing Twitter that night. Everybody was buzzing with it, and still to this day, despite Fitzgerald's misdemeanors outside the ring, he's still very much appreciated inside the ring for the job he did on Anthony Fowler. One that people probably won't remember, from my perspective, I was ringside for it. It was part of an undercard, and it was Mitchell Smith against George Jupp. Now, Mitchell Smith abused George Jupp personally, bang out of order, to be honest. Jupp came across a really decent lad, just there. Essentially, there was a bit of history between them. Anyway, Smith was, one of the rising prospects, just abused Jupp left, right, and centre. Anyway, he got beat comfortably as well. So from my perspective, I was more than happy to see that. I thought Mitchell Smith came across a real prick, bang out of order. So to see him lose his undefeated record, I was more than happy with that. And we all know what Smith went on to do in the ring, and that was fuck all, as he got banged up for doing all sorts of stuff outside the ring. Got to throw in Prince Patel, without a doubt. Prince Patel gives it the big I am, goes on the road, fights all sorts of tin cans in fucking Budapest, the Czech Republic, Poland, winning all sorts of these bogus belts. Gets a show. Was it in Saudi Arabia on the Amir Khan undercard, and then gets schooled by some essentially relatively unknown sort of opponent, and then decides to play the blame game once again. I'm trying to think from echo Andy's thoughts on the Joshua Ruiz one. Watched that fight back quite a few times now. And one for me would be Billy Joe Saunders beating Chris Eubank Jr. as well. Never liked the way Chris Eubank Jr.'s come across. I've warmed to him a little bit now, but particularly back in the time from where he was just essentially loudmouthed. Again, hadn't fought anybody. And Saunders, for me, took him to school for half the fight, and then Eubank Jr. certainly came back into it. But that was another pleasing one for me as well.
Moving on to the boys, then I'm going to throw one in. This is one that some of the guys might not remember. Anthony Small, Sugar Ray Clay Jones Jr. He was like the Prince Patel of his day. He actually had talent. He'd beaten up Matthew Hall. And he looked like a good fighter. And it was Sam Webb, I believe, off the top of my head, that beat him on points. And then he got iced by Bradley Price, which was glorious.
Oh, fucking... He came out with this... what was his acronyms again? Or his nicknames?
Yeah, Sugar Ray Clay Jones.
That's it, Sugar Ray Clay. Him, I remember the Webb fight. remember that one clearly. Sorry, the Hall fight. I remember that one clearly because he remember the way and he was mouthing off to him. He was going to do this to him, going to do that to him. Absolutely kind of, and he did do it. He ended up stopping him, I believe. I think that was in the Can Katelnik card, I'm sure. McDonough, well,
Yes, I think it was. Sorry, I think it was.
and Sam Webb, I think it was a decent British champion back in the day. And I always reminded me of Stevie Naismith, the way he looked and stuff. But to see him fucking beat him, actually, I know it was a kind of funny scorecards, was I know Steve as well in that fight by one judge. But in the end, it was good to see him fucking not just lose his title, but in the end, lose his mind, his money, his cars, and almost, in the end, his fucking passport as well. Because he wanted to go and be a jihadi, didn't he?
He got radicalised, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Something tells me that Hall fight was open air or something, so it might have been on, possibly Mitchell Kakidis or something?
I'm sure it was at the MEN meet.
Right.
The Can fight was on the same bill, I'm sure.
You're absolutely right, Andy. Yep, you're quite correct.
Was it the MEN, aye?
Yep, it was Khan Katelnik, yep.
Right, okay. Good performance by Can that night, actually. It was punch perfect.
Excellent, he was, yeah. Kotelnik had beaten Madonna as well previously. Right, Gabe, who you going for? You can name 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if you want. Who have you enjoyed seeing get humbled?
The first one was Nonito Donaire. I've always, and this is a constant topic, it just comes up. I just don't like this guy. I mean, as far as a fighter, but he always has some stupid ass shit to say. Like he just always had some kind of nonsense to pop off with. And he went on that stretch where he devastatingly destroyed Fernando Montiel. I mean, he left a dent in the side of Montiel's head on an HBO card. And this was back in what?
Frightening, by the way. That's about 08, 07. Nah, I'll be earlier than that, Gabe.
You sure?
I'll double check that for you now. Give me a second. I'm sure it was a bit earlier than that. I'm writing like 08 or something.
Yeah, maybe you're right. But he fought Fernando Montiel. Montiel's a solid fighter.
2011.
Record at that point, maybe a couple losses. Then he went on to beat stay hidden, never fight anybody worth a shit, Omar Narvaez, who, I haven't seen much of his career because, like I said, he was always hiding from fighting real opponents. He had an overinflated record, which was meh. And then he almost lost to Wilfredo Vasquez Jr. And then he beat Jeffrey Matabula on an HBO card. And then he had Toshiaka Nishioka. And then he had Jorge Arce, which he was way past this. He should have been in that goddamn fight. But, he goes on a great stretch. And then he finally runs into Rigondeaux. And I'm sure he thought, just like many of the people who were picking in that fight, thought he was going to beat Rigondeaux. And he got classed, his box off. He got made to look a fool. And I loved every second of it, especially after the Fighter of the Year award for, 2 decent fights. One against the overrated Vasquez, and Matabula had a good record, but coming from I believe South Africa. You know what I mean? Like, I just never understood why people were giving him so much credit. I mean, he had a good run. It was a good run. The opponents had decent records and good records, but that was one. Also, huge Barrera fan. So, of course, I loved one Andy mentioned, Prince Hamed. I'm not a anti-Hamed guy. I don't necessarily go back and watch any of his stuff again, but that was a classic show. Hamed was cocky and arrogant, and I think that's what kind of made some people like him, and seeing him get kind of shut down and put in his place was really fun, especially because it was one of my favorite guys. I felt like Morales getting beat by Barrera, possibly the first fight.
That wasn't really a douchebag getting humbled, though, was it?
Well, okay, maybe that was a little bit too far, but I always thought he was a cocky guy. So seeing him lose that fight, so maybe not douchebag. Maybe none of the guys I mentioned are really douches. I guess I should say that. I mean, you guys
so much hate in that heart.
Say again.
You're a man with a lot of hate in your heart, Gabe.
No. I'm just saying these are fights that I enjoyed where I enjoyed watching somebody get beat, get humbled, maybe a little bit. I can't think of any tremendous ones. I mean, you guys have already called the big ones with Boner and Maidana and the Prince and Barrera. I mean, those were two pretty big ones. I know that I'd come across another one that I can think of off the top of my head with like someone that's just a really huge jackass.
Usyk Bellew.
Yeah. Well.
After Bellew
I just watched that recently, by the way.
After Bellew showed off in that ring, leaning against the ropes, encouraging him on, and look at the position he ended up in.
Yeah, that was. I remember that
great.
actually. It was tremendous. Just because, as you say, he was preening. He was. I remember he landed the right hand, and he was like, "Come on!" And everything he threw that looked like it landed, the crowd were like buzzing about it. But then gradually, as it wore on, there was no sound.
What about Kessler beating Froch in Denmark?
That was a good fight. It was a good fight. Very close fight. Kessler had a bad cut as well. But if you're talking Kessler, and that, I would say when the night he beat Manny Sitcha, and he heard the fucking Danish commentary going on, Mikael Kessler is the fucking champion of the world.
Oh, the Manny Sitcha fight, yeah, that's right. Yeah. He's the fucking champion of the world.
So he's actually talking in Danish, right? And I can't remember what he's saying. He's like, and then his pals go, "Oh, Mikael, man." It was actually part of your intro on the old show, and that on the old intro of the fucking show. It was brilliant. So the guy's like gone mental in Danish.
Mikael Kessler is the champion of the world.
It was fucking brilliant. Oh, fuck.
It was only the WBA title as well. There's no need to get so excited.
But, hey, that's been the title meant something, though. Jesus Christ. Denmark, that. Jesus.
Okay, Gabriel, have you got any more to throw in before we move on?
No, I think that's it. I think you guys have covered, like, my favorite ones anyway.
Okay, the chat are throwing in a few as well. Lee, the alcoholic Frotch, says, can't believe nobody mentioned Ward embarrassing the contradiction yet. I'm going to stick up for the contradiction shortly.
I was going to say that.
I've been called out this week on the contradiction. Kovalev versus Cleverly was thrown in by Fox B. Tosh says, honourable mention to Stevenson versus Bellew. That was up there with Usyk for me because he completely shit the bed against Stevenson, didn't he? And that fight was erased from memory. Gvozdyk beating up Stevenson as well. You know, that one's a bit contentious there, Lee, the alcoholic Frotch. No signs of Jason Chukwu yet. We will let you know if he turns up. If Chukwu appears, Dave, you'll be the first to know. Who do you want to throw in there?
I was going to say Gvozdyk knocking out Stevenson into a coma. That was something that you felt a little weird about it because, you know, he does have a family, but he's also like a terrible person, and he had that coming for so long. And he's woken up, so whatever. They can go back and look at that and watch him get iced and enjoy it. Another one is Bernard Hopkins against Antonio Tarver. I think that was right after he had knocked out Jones. Tarver was like in love with his power. I think he predicted a knockout in 3 rounds. He was extremely arrogant, and he got totally schooled. It wasn't like a super entertaining fight, but it was just funny to watch him like get totally exposed. Is not that great of a boxer at all. Plus, to see Hopkins sort of conquer the conqueror of his old rival Jones. We'll just forget about that Roy Jones rematch.
Yeah, please. Fuck.
And then my most favorite of all time in history is Ali Frazier 1. Ali, I mean, he's a great fighter, legend. You can't take away what he did in the ring. But for a lot of the time, he was an absolute cunt outside of the ring. And
thank you, Dave. He was a fucking asshole. And the way he treated Joe was terrible.
Yep, and a racist at times too. So you should watch the documentary just called Thriller in Manila about the way he acted. But yeah, so that one where Joe just manhandles him for most of 15 rounds, and of course credit to Ali, he took that ass whooping like a man, and he got up from that brutal left hook in the 15th round. But that's one.
Yeah, but he always maintained that he won the fight because Frazier spent like a week in the hospital, and he'd only spent the night in there, and his face wasn't as badly damaged as but Frazier's was, and all that sort of stuff.
Well,
the other thing as well is Frazier fought that fight with one eye, by the way, as well. You think about it, you know, he lost the sight in one eye. Was it 67, 68 or something?
Yeah, like half of his career was with one eye because a speed bag hit it.
Yeah.
That you all done, David?
Yeah.
Rapping Rob Kelly was around. He seems to have dropped off at the moment. We'll chuck him back on. Let's see if we can get him on now, actually. Add to the stream. Rapping Rob Kelly, are you there? Can you hear me, sir?
How am I? Can you hear me? Yeah.
Can you hear you just about there, Rob? We're talking about great humblings from the Twitter earlier. Great humblings. Brona Maidana has been thrown in.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello, we are the boys.
Brilliant. Well, speaking of big humblings, pop up in memory. I suppose I think you've covered it. Obviously, got Broner and Maidan in there, haven't you? One of the best ones ever. Me and the Outlaw watched that one together. Actually, probably one of the last fights we watched together. Fucking, an overnight job, like absolutely brilliant. Barrera and the Prince. Who else was humble, like really humble? I suppose can you say Jeff Lacey? I suppose they love talking about Jeff Lacey.
Could say, what about Morales against Pacquiao? The third fight when he kind of sat there and he shook his head, he's like, nah, I can't handle this fucker. Yeah, fuck this shit.
And I remember not feeling too sympathetic for him because remember he stood over somebody.
Yeah, it was got you a spy. It was not got you a spy days or something or something along the lines.
Particularly nasty that night, like when he stood over him after fucking hammering him and
got his pictures taken in that.
Yeah. I am humbled. I suppose Fraser humbled Ali, didn't he? Like that was one of the fucking biggest humblings of all time. Like wasn't it in the with the first loss, even though it was a close fight. That was such a grudge match, like for Ali to. Well, he didn't humble him obviously because he kept his persona, but that a lot of people would have viewed it as that. Like, it's hard to pick one off the top of the head, really. Do you know what I mean? Fucking the thing about Hamid and Barrera. I mean, Hamid at the time for me grew into a world class fighter and a world class champion. Because I didn't believe the hype at the time when I saw it. I was doing the old eye test, and I know people look back at the highlights and they think a lot of it's very flashy from Hamid, and he was so gifted in his unorthodox style, uncoachable in the Engel style. But a lot of time he's fighting fucking literally postmen. Like he won his world title off literally a postman who'd won it himself on 24 hours notice. And the WBO title was not highly regarded at that stage of the 90s. It just wasn't. It's easy looking back now to say, call this guy world champ, that guy world champ. But if you had a WBO championship in the 1990s, many people didn't even consider you a world champion, especially in the States. It was a Frank Warren. Belt back then. Like so, he did grow into it, beating like guys like Augie Sanchez. I think there was a Perez. There was then the win over Kevin Kelly was brilliant. He took Wayne McCullough.
Victor Polo. Was that his last fight, Victor Polo?
Yeah, and Wayne McCullough took him the distance, but Kevin Kelly fight was an absolute classic humdinger of a fight. Whatever you think, whatever your opinions are on Hamid, and then against Barrera, he just came up short against, for me, one of the best featherweights of all time. So, I think Morales would have handled him as well. Floyd, Pacquiao probably would have beaten him as well in and around that time. But still a great champion and very exciting to watch. But that was definitely humbling for sure. Especially if you watch the doc. We've talked about it numerous times on the pod. The way he was carrying on, like forget about him in the ring. His persona out the ring was fucking completely unbearable. For me anyway, like going around wanting the fucking suite and wanting the presidential suite in the fucking wherever he was staying in Bellagio in Vegas. Like just hadn't got his eye on the prize at all. Way more concerned with talking to Michael Buffer about his ring entrance and stuff like that. And then Barrera's just training up in Big Bear, just waiting on his time, and took it with both hands. So that was a good one, but I can't think of any others off the top two.
Which one, Andy, were you throwing in for Victor Polo there? I was only half listening.
No, but Rob was talking about his list of opponents. Was there a guy called Victor Polo that he fought? Or was that his last fight? No, it was Cesar Soto. Aye, Naz, aye.
No, it was Manuel Calvo he fought last, wasn't it?
Calvo, right, okay.
Yeah, Victor Polo fought Scott Harrison, led him a merry dance, didn't he, for the WBO, do you remember?
That's who, I can't remember how that got into my head, but must because that Wayne McCullough fight, that didn't happen in Scotland, because remember, that was who it was fucking Harrison fought McCullough.
Yeah.
Coming on weight for Super Bantamweight, that's what it was. My mind got...
Hey to Dave, one of the guys in the chat was mentioning Roy Jones against Antonio Tarver. Obviously, Jones beat him the first time. The rematch was one hell of a left hand, knocked him out. Jones, you couldn't mention the first Montiel Griffin one, even though Jones was struggling comparatively to some of the other defences. It wasn't a humbling because he hit him while he was down, and then they had the rematch and he absolutely banged him away. But Tarver and then obviously Glenn Johnson, it really did humble Jones, who was such a talented guy, Dave. But I mean, he was just knocked out cold. To see him knocked out cold, he was completely humbled.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really a hardcore at the time. I remember playing Fight Night 3, and Jones was always fucking annoying to fight against because he was so damn, like, his stats were so high. So he's a pain in the ass, and when he got iced by Tarver, I was like, oh, that's nice. It's nice to know that everybody's beatable. But I wasn't really clued in on all the, behind-the-scenes drama. The fact is, though, I think he did have it coming in many ways, because I like and respect Jones in a lot of ways, but he feasted on so many low-level guys, and maybe it wasn't all his fault. And he did deal with them in like phenomenal style, like the Glenn Kelly knockout. A lot of guys don't handle their bum of the month in such fantastic style, but it was sort of like an awakening. Like, this guy can actually fight, and now you're iced on the canvas.
Yeah, I think one of the problems, Andy, with that, just speaking off the top of my head, because I was watching Roy Jones against John Ruiz there during the week. He absolutely schooled Ruiz. He came down too quickly, didn't he? In 6 months, tried to take off that pure muscle, looked like shit against Tarver. I thought he slightly won the first fight, and then, of course, the infamous second one. What is it, Jay Nady says, you got any questions, guys? And Tarver's like, what's your excuse going to be tonight, Roy? Well, he didn't need any excuses for Tarver banged him out in the second round.
Yeah, it was a bad knockout, and I think he'd fight Glenn Johnson right off the back of that knockout, and he got badly iced in that fight. And as always, another Manny Stewart saying, when you get knocked out like that back to back, it can basically leave brain damage. Jones would be 34, 35 at that time, and obviously it was the downward slide of his peak. But as he says, he could never take a shot properly like ever since, and obviously had the wee kind of come back Aggie and just went on too long. But I think the whole thing about trying to get the Tyson fight and then he had to strip 25 pounds off, can't remember what happened with Tyson again, get banned or get jailed or something like that.
That was close to being made apparently as well, wasn't it, Andy?
Yeah, it was. I need to go and double check the reason as to what happened with that again. But when the fight didn't happen, he's like, oh shit, I need to take the weight off. But I don't know why. The reason as to why he had to take the Tarver rematch, I can't remember. Was it mandated?
He had to.
Rematch was ordered, wasn't it?
Was it ordered
for one of the titles, wasn't it? I can't remember if it was IBF or not, Rob.
But he made career suicide, like you said, taking off the 25 pounds. 25 pounds of muscle. He stacked on weight to go up, and I thought he was phenomenal against Ruiz. By the way, I think like even that performance for a guy like. He's fucking started at 54 to get up there. And I know John Ruiz wasn't the best heavyweight.
Was it Pids? I think it was Pids.
Madly Shieldstone, so draw your own conclusions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
But, I think at that time, fucking the whole heavyweight division, give up, dog. Fuck. The whole heavyweight division was probably littered in Pids at the time. And I think, didn't Jones get done for some over-the-counter stuff? So I'm not
criminally clear.
Sure. But I remember being devastated when he got knocked down off of fucking when he got knocked out off Tarver, and after the second one it was over. And I remember it actually had a rubber match with Tarver, and you're talking about humblings. You had Roy Jones say afterwards, well, I thought I did better in that fight than I did in the second one or in the first one, so I took him the distance. You know what I mean? And it was like, it's Roy Jones is fucking giving himself credit for doing better against a guy like fucking Tarver. Like, no disrespect to Tarver, he's great light heavyweight, but. It was tough. It was tough for Jones, and it was never the same. He should have retired after the Ruiz fight. I always said, if he'd have retired after the Ruiz fight, I think he would have been 49-1 with the Montiel Griffin being the only blemish on his record, and it'd be hard to argue against him being the greatest of all time if he'd have quit then. It just goes to show you, doesn't it? Like, you go on too long. Now his legacy, in most people's eyes, has been completely soured by the knockouts against Cleverly and Lebedev and Danny Green and fucking the stinker against B-Hop, the fucking Trinidad fight, the Jeff Lacey. Oh my God, yeah. So
Trinidad, friggin' hell, I forgot about that.
Yeah, he could have. If he'd have retired, then he would have probably gone down as the greatest ever.
Didn't you refuse to watch that fight on principle, Steve?
Yeah, I think I did actually. Yeah, sounds like something I would do. I'm a man of great principle.
Trinidad's last fight, was it?
Someone says Trinidad.
He's
He's
banging
blown
up
his
now.
money, yeah.
Yeah, he's banging up now. Aye.
He was one hell of a fighter. Lee, the alcoholic Frotch, says if he retired after the first Tarver fight, talking about Roy Jones, he'd be more revered than Floyd is currently. So he's thinking along the same lines as Rob Kelly. Us of a certain vintage, it's hard to explain. Jones was just the man at the time. You know, he really was the
He's a
man.
freak.
Yeah, he was so athletic, wasn't he? He was so talented.
Absolutely incredible. I mean, the way he played basketball, was a natural athlete. You know, technically.
Training Eubank now, is he not? Training Eubank Junior.
Yeah, apparently so. Yeah.
Eubank stuck out at his farm out at Pensacola and that. Aye, I was talking to
He
Bryn
played
about
a
it.
basketball match the morning he defended against Eric Lucas, didn't he?
Yep. Guys, he was just a freak athlete. Obviously, as Rob says, there might be question marks and that, but there was about these fighters back in the 90s, even across all sports. But you know, just athletic phenom. It was just all he was, man. He was just incredible. Hands behind the back, and then he just swing a right hook, and you know the guy was knocked out. You know, who was the guy? His ribs broke. Remember, I always maintain that one of my most famous knockouts of all time. Who was that?
Virgil Hill with the left hand to the body, and it sounded like a fucking cannon. That one.
Did he not break his ribs or something like that?
Yeah, I think so. He's crawling on the deck after that one.
Aye, there was one actually. There was one of the greatest knockouts I've ever seen. Actually, was he almost like bent the guy over with his right leg, and I'm trying to think off the top of my head as to who it was again. I think it might have been
the guy with the big eyes, isn't it?
I remember he
popping out of his head when he hits the deck. Yeah.
One of the
wasn't
most
the punching postman, was it Tony Thornton? No,
I can't remember if it was Tony Thornton.
I remember him knocking out Glenn Kelly, the Aussie, with the hands behind the back on the ropes. Do you remember?
I remember that one. That's the one and then obviously the left hook it broke the rib. But there was one actually. It was one. Wasn't it Richard Hall? It was an early knockout. I think it was. But anyway, he fucking.
We talked about it before, definitely.
Yeah, it was one of the favourite knockouts of all time, and he drilled this cunt. I swear to God. Not a section, but it looked like the guy with his back leg as to how he folded. It was like at any moment that fucking knee was going to bend, and somehow he just went right over it. It's bugging me now as to who that was.
Have a think, Andy, while I bring in Adam Smido Smith, because we need to get some Smido action. They're absolutely going mad in the chat for Smido here. How are you, Adam?
I'm not bad. Thank you very much. I'm glad you're talking about Roy Jones, to be honest with you. Yeah, I've got a bit of. It's before my time. That's the first and foremost. It was before my time, and by the time I got into it around the Ricky Hatton era, Jones was already past it and being knocked out by people that he shouldn't be getting knocked out by. But I've got a bit of a warped view of him, really. I've mentioned on the pod before in regards to, you know, drug cheat, and it kind of just like, you know, wipes his achievements away. But I think I've got to review that really and consider that, you know, basically everyone was and still is at it in regards to the juicing. So I kind of need to put that to one side. I've not watched many of his fights in full, but we've all seen the highlight videos, and I'm no different. And he looked an absolute sensation. And it was just good to be listening to you guys describing, you know, just how good he was before the long deterioration period started. You know, and that was really only when I came into it. I remember the Danny Green. He went to Australia and got knocked out by Danny Green. You know, that was the kind of time when I was first kind of introduced to him, and it was way too late. To be honest, in terms of his earlier talent. So, yeah, it just kind of hammers home the drug thing. I think that, you know, I parked Roy Jones's career and him as a man just to one side completely because the drugs thing was, you know, so obvious or prominent or proven, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, if you revise that and assume, you know, that everyone was at it and everyone's still at it, I think you can take a better view, and that's what I need to do. You know, even last week, you know, I was talking to Rob about. I was watching the Holyfield and Tyson. I watched those two fights in full. I mean, Holyfield was on some goddamn juice then. Do you know what I mean? And Holyfield doesn't get brushed by that same, you know, tarred by the same brush quite to the extent that Jones does in terms of the drugs.
I'll tell you what.
So yeah.
Jones, like, I don't know. There is an argument. We said Mackie Shieldstone was involved, right? And Mackie Shieldstone helped him put on the weight. But Mackie Shieldstone also worked with Michael Spinks to help him move up from light heavy to heavy to fight Larry Holmes in the 80s. Now, I highly doubt in 84, 85 that there was right use of head. So this guy was good at getting weight onto light guys and having them keep their attributes with his athletic fucking training and stuff. So you might be able to give him the benefit of the doubt, and the fact that he got popped for something that you get over the counter, I think, wasn't it? He only ever got caught for like something that you find in a supplement, like a riptide or something like that. I'm not sure what it was called, but and he admitted he didn't know what the fuck was in it when he was taking it. So I don't know. Because he's so great, I kind of end up being biased. If he was a shit fighter, I'd fucking put him in the I'd condemn him. But it's hard to know.
I found that knockout I was talking about with Roy Jones. So it was the Art Serrano knockout. It was a first round knockout. It was well before he fought Hopkins the first time. And even, in fact, by the time it was before the first Hopkins fight back in 1992.
Wow.
Art Serrano against Roy Jones. So what a fucking knockout it was.
And he's cleared that one
Probably
up. Smido,
his career, actually.
Yeah. No, Smido, you're right to go back and have a look at it, because the Hopkins fight isn't a great fight, actually. Tony has its periods where it's a bit boring as well, but it's just the little moments, the way he broke down Clinton Woods, obviously knocking out Glenn Kelly and all that type of stuff. But what I will ask you, Smido, we've asked the guys coming on early, and we'll ask you the same thing. You're not much of a drinker, Smido, but we are in the Friday lock-in. What's your tipple of choice?
Oh, tonight, I can tell you exactly. Just finished my third pint of Old Mount cider, a new flavour, pineapple and raspberry. Now, I know that might be...
You deserve to get shits for that.
It's not quite as hardcore as the stuff that Andy or Rob may well drink, but I'm a terrible drinker, absolutely terrible.
What the fuck are you trying to say? What are you trying to say?
I know that flavoured cider, sides on the female variety.
The stereotype in there,
associate with people.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to admit it. Really, I'm happy to admit it that I drink.
You drink like a minge, basically.
Flavoured cider, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine with me, no problem. I mean, you got to remember, I went nearly 2 years without having a drink at all a couple of years ago, so I don't need drink in my life to have a good time.
Oh, so you got your midlife crisis when you're 25, basically. What the fuck, dude?
Here, Smith, the other thing we're asking was if you could pick a boxer or a boxing personality, living or dead, to pull up a bar stool next to you and have a couple of beers with, who would you go with? We've had Glenn McCrory thrown in, Roberto Duran, Ricky Hatton. Who do you reckon?
Oh, God.
And Frost isn't Swally, by the way.
Well, I would say that that's not a dream to share some time with Koffroch. That's already been a reality. So that wouldn't be the answer to this question on this occasion. Oh God, who would it be?
Dennis
you caught
Hobson.
me a bit on the hot there, Steve. To be honest,
Porker?
Dennis Hobson. Golovkin. Yeah, maybe Golovkin. I bet he's got some stories to tell. Kovalev. What about Kovalev? Come on.
Canelo?
Listen,
Google
Smid,
Translate on the phone.
Smid, you're drinking Old Mount cider, brain damage, and fucking Kovalev drinks straight vodka. Right? Think about this for a second now. Remember that time you found me and Tommy in the hotel in Oldham, smashed out our faces in the reception? You're looking through the window like some people. Tommy like that. I'm like, who's that cunt? I says, that's fucking Smithel. So that's fucking smashed at my brains, man.
The first I've told this story before. The first time I met Tommy was on a Friday night before the Frampton fight, and then I met you up again on the Saturday, and Tommy could not remember meeting me less than 12, 13 hours previous. Yep. Could not remember.
We were
That's how memorable I am.
It was an 18-hour session that day, by the way. 18 hours from Glasgow to fucking Manchester to weigh-ins to IFL interviews to fucking, I can't mind. I remember we go to bed this night and woke up in the middle of the night. It was a fucking pizza line in the middle of the fucking flare. I don't know how it got there.
The boys in the chat, Andy, have thrown in a few here. Manny Stewart, Chris Eubanks Sr., Bob Aram. That's a good shout. Don King, if he would answer honestly. Well, I think that's ruled that one out. Bert Sugar as well. So yeah, a few of the boys being thrown in there.
Yeah.
On this, where are we again on Friday evening, aren't we? Lockdown, on lock-in. Ozzy's here, Gabe's here, Hey to Dave, Smido, rapping Rob Kelly, and Andy as well, alongside me. Steve, we're going to start wrapping up soon. Anything else anybody wants to throw in before we go into the championship rounds and call it a night? We will be back on Sunday, of course, for the usual 2 hours. A couple of guests lined up already. Hopefully things will go a bit better than last week. Anything you want to throw in, Andy? Any fights to keep an eye on? I know you put something in the private chat there. I'm just having a look now, actually.
Yeah, just like worst world champions all the time. I could rhyme off some names for you, but just talking about fights and stuff. I was reminding myself, just digging up some of the old hard drives, the old fights I've got on. I came across the Ed and Valero career set that I've got saved and that, so I'm looking through them. I've uploaded them to YouTube, and I actually forgot about this fight actually when he become world champion for the first time against Vicento Mosquera.
That's
what
right. Yeah.
a fucking fight that was by
Got put down, didn't he, by Mosquera?
I got put down in the third round. Not just that though, mate. He got fucking badly hurt twice, visibly, in the first round. Then dropped Mosquera in the first round as well. As I'm saying to myself, just it's about hindsight in that. But I forgot about this fight. I'm watching it. I'm saying to myself, fucking hell, this is a real gut check for him because he got hit low, could have bailed, took the knee, and he got back into it. And then in the end, man, by about 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, he was beating the fucking living shit out of Mosquera to the point that Mosquera pulled the same face that DeMarco pulled the night that he got pulled out as well. And Mosquera never fought again for about 5 or 6 years after the Valero fight. And it says, to me, that was a gut check, and it was in Panama in Mosquera's backyard, and everything's against him. He's getting booed, and every punch that's getting landed against him, it's fucking uproars, just like everything else. And he just remains calm and just does what he does best, lets the punches go. And he was never off that fight. He was never a one-punch knockout artist, but the punches just ripped and ripped and ripped and just took bits off you, just chipped away at you. And in the end, man, if he didn't fucking yield, he quit. And, I mean, yield during the fight, but if he didn't yield during then, as soon as you got to the corner, you're like, nah, can't do it anymore. The guy was just that much of a savage, man. He just kept going, and I really think he was one of those fighters that you had to fucking beat him. You had to draw him at the fucking floor, because I saw him, as I say, twice get badly hurt in that first round, and he somehow just kept it going. And you could see it in the fight that he was struggling, he was backing off and finding moments. He was really struggling. He couldn't keep up with the pace and stuff. But fucking hell, he dug it out in the end. And as I mentioned last week, it was a question of what if it would have happened if he kept going,
Absolutely. Good recommendations from Andy there, as always. We're going to start to close up then, Ozzy. Now, anything you want to mention in closing? Anything you want to bring up? Any fights that you've been watching or you recommend the listeners to watch? Anything at all? Throw it in now, please, Ozzy.
Negative.
Nothing from Ozzy. Negative is the word. Gabe, no negativity from you. What have you been watching this week? Anything you want to recommend to the listeners? Anything you want to bring up?
Oh, I want to give you some negativity. These the footage I've been seeing out of the UK, the police treating you all like serfs in a fucking police state. Go home. You're not allowed to be walking around this park. Oh, go and do one. You can't open your door. I saw a video of these 5 or 6 cops kick down a dude's door, and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like, "Oh, we're just checking. We heard about a disturbance." They just walk out with his door hanging off the hinges. Fuck the UK police.
Dave, you chewing on
the underground.
He's chewing on a fur burger, I think here.
I'm chewing on a bit of minge.
Oh, there we go. Does it smell like an Arbro? Does it smell like Dave? Does it taste and smell like an Arbro fishing trawler?
I'm sure if the CP or the British UK police were around, they'd say I didn't have a license to be chewing on this minge.
Watch this backfire on you.
Where'd you go from there? How the hell am I supposed to follow that up?
Steve, I'll be the end of the show before we get another ban for sexual nudity content again, by the way.
We're on StreamYard, paid for the year, and then we get kicked off because of him.
Fucking first night we get kicked off and banned. Just paid $25.
Gabe, it's the sound of the police, Dave. It's the sound of the beast. Forget about them. Forget about Dave. Whatever the original question was. Go.
Fight with what was that Mexican guy that he fought? God Almighty,
Kessler.
He fought fights. So I have quite a few of them. And he's not probably anywhere near my all-time favorites, but I enjoy watching the guy. and so I got some of his stuff, and then that kind of spurred me on to the little Puerto Rican guy. God, I can't think of anybody's fucking name today.
Too much swallow, that's what's happening. Too much of that Texas fucking rattlesnake juice you're drinking.
I guess I don't know what my deal is. I can't think of anything today. He fought Moises Fuentes. I think very last fight of his career. He fought Giovanni Segura, Ivan Calderon. Yeah, I got a good load of stuff from him too. So, really, I guess been watching quite a few lower weight guys. Came across a few Emmanuel Augustus fights that I hadn't seen before too. So that was a plus. Always a big fan of Emmanuel Augustus or Burton or whatever the fuck it is you want to call him. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just enjoying some old stuff.
Okay, thank you, Gabriel. Yeah, there's a few slight buffering issues with YouTube at the moment. Not really sure what's going on there. We are trying out StreamYard tonight. It could be bandwidth. They did say earlier there was going to be bandwidth problems and whatever, so we'll keep an eye on that. Rapping Rob Kelly, we'll keep an eye on you as well, out in the mean streets or stuck at home, in fact, locked down. Anything you want to leave the listeners with, Rob? A little bit, impart some knowledge, perhaps?
Hello?
Rapping Rob Kelly, are you with us?
Hello?
I am. We're going to get emailed at 9 in a row now next week. I'll be fucking on to you.
Can I hear
Quite
you?
faint there, Roberto.
Sorry, man. I don't know this. I'm having a bit of a mare there. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Just about, yeah. Go ahead.
I've been watching. Last night I watched the two Breland and Starling fights. You know, I love a bit of 80s welterweight action. What can you say? Like with the two, I didn't know some stuff I picked up in the commentary. Yeah, well, I kind of probably knew it over the years. I was young when I was watching it. Breland was touted as like one of the greatest amateurs ever. He'd 100 amateur fights and lost one. And the guy that beat him as an amateur, he destroyed him as a pro in 3 rounds. Legendary trainers, you got Lou Duva in one corner. Eddie Futch, who said about Marlon Starling before that he was as good as he could have hung in the era of Robinson and all the top welterweights. So it was high praise from Eddie Futch. But it's just interesting to see Starling defuse Mark Breland, who was undefeated, Olympic gold medalist, in the greatest ever team, the star.
Rob, sorry to cut you off in your prime, dude, but we're really struggling to hear you here.
All right, look, just we'll leave it for tonight, sir.
Oh, you improved at the end, but maybe it was too little too late. That's okay. Thanks, Rob. We'll add in Smido just finally to give his point of view. Smido, we're just asking, you're a hardcore. We want to know the hardcore's choice for fights to watch this week.
I've not really thought about it. Lomachenko Linares was on my list. I was thinking a bit of Donaire to watch. But yeah, I'll be honest, I've not really got a plan for boxing this week.
No problem, Smido. That will do it for tonight. Thanks to everybody who's jumped on. Ozzy Smith was here. Hey to Dave Lowback, Gabe Lewis, Andy Patterson, Rapping Rob Kelly, and Adam Smido Smith. Just been trying things out tonight. A little Friday lock-in to see how StreamYard works. There's been a lot of hits, a couple of misses as well. People often ask us why you're not back on YouTube. It's not always as clear-cut as you think. StreamYard has been good tonight, actually. There are panel member restrictions, though, which we've met with tonight. We've had to move people around. You're only allowed 6 at any time. Also, the post-pod download appears to be quite slow, so that might affect the iTunes, the Patreon feed uploads. So it swings and roundabouts. Like we've been on Mixler. It's gone well, but it hasn't. We haven't come over here for any reason. You know, there's hits and misses with all these platforms. Is the message I'm trying to get across to you? As of now, MB was asking earlier. I believe we'll be back in StreamYard on Sunday evening, unless something catastrophic happens. We will be back here on Sunday evening. But like I say, there's going to be things. There's going to be give and take. Maybe the iTunes feed, the Patreon feed will be that bit slower due to StreamYard. We don't know. We'll try to work through these issues for you. Thanks to the guys for coming on. I've been Steve Wellings. We will end the broadcast right now and catch you all on Sunday at 8 o'clock. See you all then. Bye.
Pat Smigger.
Peace.
Wankers.
Peace.